Finally, after 2 months. Or is it longer than that? Well, it was in the old house when we did the last Watership Down. So, we're also going to be doing some 3D printing. I'm going to make one of my Andorian. Isn't she hot? Huh. Actually, I'm just kidding. We're going to do Watership Down, Chapter 23, Kihar. Human beings say, it never rains but it pours. This is not very apt, for it is frequently does rain without pouring. The rabbit's proverb is better expressed. They say, one cloud feels lonely. And indeed it is true, for the appearance of a single cloud often means the sky will soon be overcast. However that may be, the very next day provided a dramatic second opportunity to put Hazel's idea into practice. In the early morning, the rabbits were beginning to souffle. Coming up on the clear gray silence, the air was still chilly. There was a good deal of dew and no wind. 5 or 6 wild ducks flew overhead with swift movement V, intent on some far-off destination. The sound made by their wings came down distinctly, diminishing as they went away southward. The silence returned, and with the melting of the last of the twilight, there grew a kind of expectancy and tension, as though it were thawing snow about to slide from a sloping roof. Then the whole down and all it below it, the earth and air gave way to sunrise. As a bull, with a slight but irresistible movement, tosses its head from the grasp of a man who's leaning over the stall and idly holding its horn. So the sun entered the world in smooth, gigantic power. Nothing interrupted or obscured its coming. Without a sound, the leaves shone and the grass conskorscade, whatever the fuck that means, along the miles of the escarpment. It's supposed to be a fucking kid's book. And I had college, and I still can't pronounce some of this shit. All right, here we go. Outside the wood, Bigwig and Silver combed their ears and sniffed the air and hopped away, following their own long shadows to the grass of the gallop. As they moved over the short turf, nibbling, sitting up, looking around them, they approached a little hollow, no more than 3 feet across. Before they checked the edge, Bigwig, who was ahead of Silver, checked and crouched, staring. Although he could not see into the hollow, he knew there was some creature in it, something fairly big. Peering through the blades of grass around his head, he could see the curve of a white back. Whatever the creature was, it was nearly as big as himself. He waited, stock still, for some little time, but it did not move. "What has a white back, Silver?" whispered Bigwig. Silver considered. A cat? No cats here. How do you know? At that moment, they both heard a low breathing hissing from the hollow. It lasted several moments, and there was silence once more. Bigwig and Silver had a good opinion of themselves. Apart from Holly, they were the only survivors of the Sandalphorn Owsla, and they knew that their comrades looked up to them. The encounter with the rats in the barn had been no joke and proved their worth. Bigwig, who who was generous and honest, had never for a moment resented Hazel's courage on the night when his own superstitions, fear, got the better of him. But the idea of going back to the honeycomb and reporting that he had glimpsed an unknown creature in the grass and left it alone for more, it was more than he could swallow. He turned his head, looked at Silver. Seeing that he was game, he took a final look at the strange white bag and then went straight up to the edge of the hollow. Silver followed. It was no cat. The creature in the hollow was a bird, a big bird, nearly a foot long. Neither of them had ever seen a bird like that before. The white part of its back had glimpsed through the grass was in fact only the shoulders and back. The lower back was light gray, and so were the wings, which tapered long, black-tipped primaries, whatever that is. Folded together over the tail. The head was dark brown, was very dark brown, almost black, in a sharp contrast to the white neck, and the bird looked as though it was wearing some kind of hood. One dark red leg could be seen that ended in a webbed foot and 3 powerful taloned toes. The beak, hooked slightly downward at the end, was strong and sharp. As they stared at it, it opened its disclosing red mouth and throat. The bird hissed savagely and tried to strike, but it did not move. "And turn," said Bigwig. "Yes, you can tell that," replied Silver, "but it's not wounded anywhere I can see. I'll go round." Look out, said Bigwig. "He'll have you." Silver, as he started to move around the hollow and come closer to the bird's head, he jumped back in time to avoid a quick darting blow of the beak. "That would have broken your foot," said Bigwig. And as they squatted looking at the bird, they both sensed intuitively that it could not rise. It suddenly burst out a loud, rapacious cry, "Yar, yar, yar!" A tremendous sound at close quarters that split the morning and carried far across the down. Bigwig and Silver turned and ran. They collected themselves significantly to pull up short of the wood and make a more dignified approach to the bank. Hazel came to meet them in the grass. There was no mistake in their wide eyes and dilated nostrils. "Hello?" asked Hazel. "Well, if I'm blessed if I know, I'll tell you the truth," replied Bigwig. "There's a great bird out there, like nothing I've ever seen." "How big? As big as a pheasant?" "No, quite so big," admitted Bigwig. "But bigger than a wood pigeon and a lot fiercer." "Is that what it cried?" "Yes, it startled me all right. We actually beside it, but for some reason or another it can't move." "Dying?" "I don't think so." "I'll go and have a look," says Hazel. "It's savage. For goodness sake, be careful." Bigwig and Silver returned with Hazel, and the 3 of them squatted outside the bird's reach as they looked sharply and desperately from one to the other. Hazel spoke in hedro patois, Patois. "You hurt? You no fly?" The answer was harsh gabbling, which all they felt immediately to be exotic. Whatever the bird came from, it was surely far away. The accent was strange and guttural, and the speech distorted. They could only catch a word here and there. "Come here, kya. You come here, yark. Take me finish, me no finish. Utter you down plenty." The dark brown head flickered from side to side, and then unexpectedly the bird began to drive its beak into the ground. They noticed for the first time that the grass in front of it was torn and scored with lines. For some moments, it stabbed here and there, then gave up and lifted its head and watched them again. I believe it's starving, said Hazel. We better feed it. Bigwig, go get some worms or something. There's a good fellow. What'd you say, Hazel? Worms. Me dig for worms? Didn't the Owlsla teach you? Oh, all right, I'll do it, said Hazel. You and Silver wait here. After a few moments, however, Bigwig followed Hazel back to the ditch and began to join in scratching at the dry ground. Worms are not plentiful on the downs, and there had been no rain for days. After a time, Bigwig looked up. What about beetles? Woodlice, something like that. They found some rotten sticks and carried them back. Hazel pushed one forward cautiously. Insects. The bird split the stick in 3 ways, as in many sections snapped up the few insects inside. Soon there was a small pile of debris in the hollow, and the rabbits brought anything they could get for food. Hazel found some horse dung, and along the track dug the worms out. Overcome his disgust, he carried them one by one. Hazel has braised in. He muttered something about the first time any rabbit has done this, and don't tell the blackbirds. At last, long after they all grown weary, the birds stopped feeding and looked at Hazel. Finished. Eat. What you do? You hurt? Said Hazel. The bird looked crafty. No hurt. Plenty fight. Stay small time. Then go. You stay here, you finish, said Hazel. Bad place. Come Humba, come Kistro. Damn ye fight lot! Fight plenty! I bet it would too, said Bigwig, looking with admiration at the 2-inch beak and thick neck. We no want you finish, said Hazel. You stay here, you finish. We help you maybe. Piss off! Come on, said Hazel immediately to the others. Let's leave it alone. He began to lop back to the woods. Let it try keeping the Kessels off for a bit. What's the idea, Hazel? Said Silver. That's a savage brute. You can never make a friend out of that. You may be right, said Hazel. But what's the good of a blue tit or a robin to us? They won't fly any distance. We need a big bird. But why do you want a bird so particularly? I'll explain later, says Hazel. I like blackberry and fiber to hear it as well. But let's go underground now. If you don't want to chew pellets, I do. Damn, how many freaking pages in this son of a bitch? Woo! Holy shit! How many? God damn. I'm going to do this thing fast or I'm going to run out of power. During the afternoon, Hazel organized more work on the warren. The honeycomb was good as finished. Though the rabbits were not methodical and never really certain when anything is finished. And the surrounding burrows and runs were taking shape. Quite early in the evening, however, he made his way one more to the hollow. The bird was still there. It looked weaker and less alert, but snapped feebly as Hazel came up. You still here? Said Hazel. You fight hog. No fight, answered the bird. No fight, but botch. Botch, always botch. East no good. Hungry? The bird made no reply. Listen, said Hazel. Rabbits not eat birds. Rabbits eat grass. We help you. Why you help me? Never mind. We make you safe. Big hole, food too. The bird considered. Legs fine. Being no good. Eat bad. Well, walk then. You hurt me plenty, I hurt you like damn. Hazel turned away. The bird spoke again. Is long way? No, not far. Come again. It got up with a good deal of difficulty and staggering on its strong, blood-red legs. Then it opens its wings high above its body. Hazel jumped back, startled by the great arching span, and once closed it again, grimacing in pain. Ving no good. I come. It followed Hazel docilely across the grass, but he was careful to stay out of its reach. They're sensational outside the wood. The arrival outside the wood caused something of a sensation, which Hazel cut short with a peremptory sharpness quite unlike his usual manner. Come on, get busy, he said to Dandelion and Buckthorn. This bird's hurt, and we're going to shelter it until it's better. Ask Bigwig how to get it some food. It eats worms and insects. Try grasshoppers. Anything. Hawkbit. Acorn. Yes, you too, Fiver. Come out of that rapid trance, or whatever you're in. We need an open, wide hole, wider than it's deep, with the flat floor a little below the level of the entrance by nightfall. We've all been digging all afternoon, Hazel. I know. I'll come and help you. It's just for a little while. Only get started. Night is coming. I'm going to have to stop it right there and mark it because I am not going to have enough power. So, we're going to put a little X on this and we will call this part 1. All right? Hua.